program is rated TV MA-LSV. It contains strong language, sexual situations, and violence. It is intended only for mature audiences.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the shit show. Sorry we're late. I forgot to push the live button, so it's all on me. But I want to introduce my friend Brandi from Twitter or X, and she's going to help me tonight with this topic that we're going to be talking about. So say hi to everybody, Brandi.
Hello, everyone. I'll introduce myself again since we weren't live.
Yeah, sorry.
I know, cool. I mean, this is fun. This is really fun.
Okay,
my name is Brandi. I met Janet on Twitter, like she said, and I am the communications director for an organization that works the investigative trafficking in Texas. So, yeah, this is right up my alley, Janet. Thank you for inviting me to join you.
I'm so glad you joined me, and because my little sister was going to do this because she is hot on this one topic about providing sex dolls of little children for pedophiles. There's a senator that tried to do this, so I don't know whether or not it'll get passed, but with this administration, who knows, right? It's really, really scary. But let me say hi to everybody in the chat again. I'm sorry. Let's see. I got Jackie Blue, thank you. She's one of my wrenches. Thank you for coming in. Oh, baby girl, hi. Six Nations, thank you for joining us tonight. I really appreciate it. And let's see, it says it's a Carter 67 or something like that. Thank you for coming. Hi, Edward. Thank you for stopping in. And let's see if there's anything else in here. Yeah, okay. Hi, Soy Base Jeremy. Thank you for stopping in. It's nice to see you. But yeah, this is a real mess that they are going to be doing this type of thing using our tax dollars. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up the one article. It's let's see, where is it? Hold on it. I'm trying to find it again. Give me 1 minute. I got to find it because I lost it because I accidentally let's see. Lost it when I thought we were live and then we weren't. I'm so sorry.
I'm glad it wasn't me.
I know, but it's me. I do stuff like this all the time. I get nervous and then I forget about it. So, but let me bring it back up again. I got the link right here. So let me open it.
When you reached out and asked me to join you,
yeah, and it was that last minute. I feel really bad.
But no, don't feel bad. Everything works out the way it's supposed to. This topic, yeah, I am happy. It must be talked about.
Okay, well, here it is. Here's the article. Let me bring it up. Okay, and I'm going to turn this up so somebody can hear it. Soon, I got to wait. I got to start it first before I can get to the volume. But this is about Marjorie Taylor Greene talking about this woman, and then we'll talk about the article. So let me turn it up.
The Democrats are the party of princess predators from Disney. The Democrats are the party of teachers, elementary school teachers trying to transition their elementary school age children and convince them they're a different gender. This is the party of their identity, and their identity is the most disgusting, evil, horrible things happening in our country. And that's why we have to say it. We have to be willing to say it, and no matter how many little blue check marks get their feelings hurt on Twitter.
Yeah, that's 100% true.
I know.
So the thing is, this Democrat, it's in Kentucky. It says a Democrat state senator from Kentucky has suggested providing child sex dolls to pedophiles in a bid to reduce the chance of them abusing children. I was shocked as shit when I was reading this because I was like, how can they possibly think that providing a doll that looks just like a kid, a little girl or a little boy, is going to stop somebody from wanting even more kids? Because now they have a doll that does whatever they tell it to do, right? It's sick.
Yeah, it's not. It's gonna feed their craving. That's not gonna stop. It's going to amplify it.
I think so. But I read this earlier, but it wasn't live yet. But it says, speaking at the Kentucky General Assembly on Thursday, Senator Karen Berg said there was research suggesting that these dolls actually decrease the proclivity of them wanting to go attack children. The remarks sparked an angry backlash on social media, with one prominent commentator accusing Berg of sexualizing kids and defending pedophiles. But this is the woman, this is the senator that thinks that our tax dollars should be buying sex dolls for all these pedophiles to keep them from wanting to rape more kids. And these are people that have already been arrested for pedophilia or minor attracted person, and give them a doll to tide them over. It's like giving a candy bar to somebody that's not supposed to have any chocolate. You know what I mean?
Wow.
It's totally
Yeah.
disgusting.
I cannot imagine how anyone that works in any areas, whether it be district attorneys who actually see the cases that come in, right, or the judges, or the therapists who see the aftermath of what a pedophile can do to a child. I don't understand how anyone can get behind this.
But see, it also, we don't know what they actually do. You know what I mean? Unless you're in court when they're charging someone with a crime against a child, we don't know what they've done to this child. Some of them could just be grooming. Some could be actual penetration or making them perform oral sex on them or whatever it is, or beating them, or, you know, we don't know, drowning them, torturing them. I mean, there's so many levels of disgusting debauchery that they do. And you're handing them a little girl or boy that they can dress in any outfit and do anything, take photos with and everything, disgusting and perverted. And how can they possibly believe that this is good for us or good for our kids or good
I
for
don't
these
understand
people? It's disgusting.
I said earlier we weren't live. I'd love to see it again. The fact that we know there's proven case studies that show that the wiring in the brain of a child who views porn early in age. Both of those, it is totally rewired different. There is no way to undo it. It's a permanent thing. So for anyone, I'm just blown away that anyone that has ever worked in any legal realm could be okay with this being something. This should never be an option, ever.
Yeah, like you mentioned, that any person that's in a senator or in any branch of government that had a child that was ever assaulted, right, could possibly think that this is a good idea. Because you had said that but we weren't live, and I wanted to make sure I brought that out. But because they can't. I've talked about it to you and many other people about what happened to my niece, okay, with her own uncle, right? And half the family wants to believe that he did it. We went to court. We saw the evidence. He pled. He got 20 years when he could have got 60 or more. And the other half think, well, they think it's that she made it up. And I'm like, there's 3 kids, 3 different kids. One's in another state.
There you are.
Said this shit happened to him.
We lost you. You just came back for us.
Oh, I came back? Okay. Well, there was three kids that were assaulted. Okay.
Wow.
Okay. And the thing is, one's in another state. And so half my family still doesn't want to believe that he did any of these things that they said he did, even though the DA was able to prosecute him with evidence that, and he didn't want it to go to the jury because he said, oh, I don't want my daughter to testify, because his daughter would have to testify saying that, yeah, I saw him take my cousin in the other room and lock the door behind him. He didn't want his daughter to have to admit that. So, he pled out. But guess what? Less than 5 years now, we have to go back to court to make sure he stays in jail to get his 20.
Yeah.
So basically, the child has to go through that over and over and over again because they have the person that performed these acts on these kids, these minor attracted persons, are more important than the children that are attacked. You see, it's just ridiculous. Our government is messed up. You know, our laws are screwed up. Unless you're lucky enough to live in a state like I do, because Sarah Huckabee told this government that we have right now that we will not comply with Title IX in the state of Arkansas. And Title IX is a whole thing about making males be able to, compete with girls because they think they're a woman, on the inside or whatever. So I'm proud of her. As far as I know, we're the only state doing that.
Yeah, and you should be. We all should be. In what world did men and women compete in the same sports? Never before. Ever. Where our bodies are different. There's
Even
no
if you cut your penis off, your body is still different. Your DNA is different. Your bone structure, your muscles, everything is different. So even if you inject yourself with a bunch of female hormones, but you still have a penis and a prostate and all that, you're still different. You're never going to be able to change your DNA to be able to be a woman. And the same thing for a woman. A woman cannot inject herself with testosterone and all of a sudden grow testicles. It doesn't work. Okay.
No.
If you want to pretend to be a man or pretend to be a woman and live that way, you shouldn't be able to compete in sports against another person of the supposed sex that you want to be. That it shouldn't be allowed. They should have their own beauty pageants. They should have their own sports and whatever else. They shouldn't be allowed to take the rights away from other people simply because, well, my needs are important. But what about my needs? I want to go to the bathroom with my kids at a gym, right? And I can walk in at any time and see a man standing there naked that's got a wig on and some lipstick. And I'm supposed to tell my little kid, hey, don't look, it's a she-man or whatever. What are you supposed to tell your kid without having to explain why they look different? Because mommy never looked like that, I don't know. It's just ridiculous. It's messed up. I don't know how we're supposed to save our kids from this kind of government that's forcing it upon us.
The first thing people can do, whether they're parents or not, is get involved at the community level. Mm-hmm. You cannot make a federal difference if you have not even started in your own backyard. And, the most important thing to fight against this first is have a relationship with your children. First of all, we might not be able to stop the laws and what is happening, but we can educate our children to know what to look for. We can educate them that trust is earned, never given. We have a Shepards Watch Foundation. We have a Facebook page and a Twitter page. And we're just getting started up on Instagram here soon. And one of the things that I was sharing the other day was the fact that, everyone wants to gripe about the laws that are coming down, but they don't show up at their city council meeting, Janet. They don't get involved with their own children and what's going on with their kids' lives. And you can't depend on a law to save your child. You must ingrain in them what to look for when it comes to the grooming and the sex trafficking that's out there. It's there. It's everywhere. I can't tell you. I can tell you that I find at least 4 to 5 teacher or, let's say, authority figures in children's lives abusing them every single day now. Every day. So when I think about these dolls, I think about it on a whole other level than most people, right? Because I'm already seeing what is happening and hearing happening to people and children without this being a thing, right? So
Yeah.
when this is a thing, I can't imagine what the world we're going to live in at that point. And the only way to protect your own kids are to talk to them now. Now.
Mhm.
It's never too late.
It's never too late to try to explain to your kids that if you see something that you don't feel comfortable around, or if you feel uncomfortable, then leave. Raise your hand and ask to leave the classroom, or if you're in a bathroom and something weird's going on in there, leave the bathroom. You don't have to stay in there. You don't have to put up with this stuff. And if you feel uncomfortable and your teacher's making you feel uncomfortable, then you tell them you want to go to the office and call your parents. Things like that, because a kid can do that. They're allowed to do that. If the teacher doesn't let them, that's when the parent has to step in, saying that my child asked to leave and to go to the office and call me because they felt uncomfortable for the situation of whatever it was you were talking about in class or whatever, and you did not let my child contact me. We have to step in and do something about it, because children do want to talk to their parents. A lot of them are too embarrassed, because after something does happen, they're too embarrassed to tell it, because sometimes they blame themselves.
Yes. And
rape victims blame themselves a lot. Well, if I hadn't worn that shirt, or if I hadn't worn those skirts, you see?
And that's where it comes in, right? Where you have to have those relationships now. You can't wait until something happens and decide it's time to connect with your child. It's way too late at that point.
Yeah, because by that time you're going to have therapy and spend a lot more money on a lot of other things. So if you try to have a good relationship with your child before any of these things can happen to them, then you'll have a less likely chance that your child will know something's not right and have that gut feeling and try to get out of it. But the next thing I want to bring up is the people. This is a company in Japan that already is making dolls that look like children.
I've lost my audio. I can't hear Janet.
Oh, darn it. Can you guys hear me? Can the chat hear me? Or is it just Brandi? Can anybody hear me in the chat? See, I don't know if anybody can hear me or not. Okay, you can hear me. So Brandi just lost connection again. But I'm going to open it's another link that I'm going to open. Oh, and I shared Brandi's Twitter handle in the chat. So please, if you're on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, please follow her. Because she is with the Shepards Watch Foundation. If you want to ask questions or learn more about child trafficking or any of this stuff, then just follow her and send her a DM. She's really good at helping share information and try to help people get the right information on how to what to do, and what you should do if you think something's happening, because she will explain that to you. Brandi, can you hear me now?
I can.
Okay.
Awesome.
Can you do me a favor?
Yes,
Can
ma'am.
you explain to everybody in the chat about what to do if they think something's happening to a child and what not to do?
Oh, so there's definitely different scenarios.
Mm-hmm.
Let's throw out the what happens all the time, the grooming online. Let's say
Mm-hmm.
that.
Okay.
Or I'll give you a good example. I had someone not long after we started on Twitter Spaces reach out to me, and they're a child in their home, a minor in their home,
Mm-hmm.
young. I'm going to say young adult, but not yet of age, right? So a
Mm-hmm.
young adult, not 18 yet. She discovered that there were some text messages that looked like there may have been some pictures.
Mm-hmm.
Went back and forth, and she did the right thing. She didn't go looking. Don't go looking for those things. What she did was she called immediately and said, hey, or texted me immediately and said, hey, I need a phone call. I don't know what to do in this situation. And that was the perfect thing to do. because the last thing you want to do, if you have a child that may be approached by a pedophile, and let's say there's something on a device, you do not want to take pictures of it, because then if this is some type, let's say if there was a picture taken of a child, even if it's your child and you're sending it to your phone to save, to show someone, no, that you're distributing child porn now.
Yep.
It has to stay where it's at. You take that device, you shut it down, and you call law enforcement. That's the first thing we tell you to do. You do not interact on it whatsoever. And as far as who do you call? Well, that depends on what it looks like. For this person, this was someone was contacting, and yes, it was someone that was older, like probably 40s, 50s, to someone that was not even 15 years old. And at that point, you hang up the phone, and we suggested they call the Bureau of Investigations in their state, and they took care of it immediately. Now, I will say that depending on the state in the United States, not all Bureau of Investigations take lead on cases. Some of them only work as a support to the local law enforcement. So, but it turned out to be a good thing. She made a phone call. It was a holiday. Of course, they didn't call back on Saturday or Sunday, but they called back on Monday. And they immediately took in the information and went after this person. But, sometimes you do end up with not getting a phone call back. That is something that happens a lot, unfortunately. And in that situation, go up to your state next. Start with local. If your local will not respond, then go to your state immediately. And for like Texas, that looks like Texas Department of Public Safety. It depends on whatever state you're in. If it is something that is exploitation online, and maybe we had something else occurring, which is still occurring, but I will be very general. It's nothing that we're involved in whatsoever, but when there's an exploitation situation, let's say if a minor's images are being distributed online, right? What you could do there, or even if someone approached your child online, maybe you find a online message or a DM, right? Direct message to your child, and maybe your child hasn't interacted with them yet. You can actually.
Uh-oh. I think she lost contact again. Can you hear me, Brandi? Darn it. She might be having storms. I don't know. I don't know for sure. But the thing is, if you think there's anything that something's going on with a child that you know of, that just seems off, don't approach the child and don't approach the person that they're with. Contact your sheriff's department or the police department and tell them your suspicions, and let them find the people, like what the group that Brandi's involved in, Shepards Watch, and that's what they do. Hardly any of them ever, you don't find out what they're doing, because these look like regular people. They mix among these people, and they don't let anybody know who they are, because that's what they do for a living, is they save kids. So I'm sorry we lost you again.
Oh man, I'm having a heck of a storm here tonight, and
Yeah,
it didn't roll in until this started.
Yeah, the thing is, we had that all night last night, and I guess if it's in Texas right now, it's coming towards me, so I'll probably get it next. But the next thing I want to bring up is I want to show everyone this person that's a Japanese maker that makes these dolls, and these are the dolls that they're going to provide for these pedophiles or minor attracted persons. So I just want to show you this, and I'm putting the links in the I'm putting all these links in the chat, because I want you guys to be able to look this stuff up if you want. Well, this is it. These are the Japanese company manufactures lifelike child sex dolls for pedophiles. It says, I'm helping people express their desires legally and ethically. It's not worth living if you have to live with your repressed desire. Can you believe that bullshit? This is disgusting. No wonder my sister was so upset about this crap. But these are the things. You can buy these dolls from this people and pick the hair color. You can pick anything you want to make these dolls look a certain way for you, whether it's male or it's a female doll, whether you want them to have blonde hair, brunettes. It's disgusting. To me, this is feeding into their sickness. It's like providing a person that's a drug addict drugs, or an alcoholic alcohol. I mean, what's the difference? Just because it's a doll doesn't mean it isn't a fetish. It isn't a freaky, disgusting habit that they're going to use on another child when they see one. You know what I mean? It's disgusting and repulsive. But I'm not going to share this link in the chat like I did the other one. But the thing is, this is a factual thing that they're doing. And they can purchase these dolls. And if our government passes some law like this to make it like it's normal, because they don't, on this app that I'm on right now, or not X, but YouTube, they don't want you to say pedophile. They want you to call a minor attracted person, because it's an illness. It's not a choice. And it is a choice. You can choose to hurt kids, or you can choose not to hurt them. That's why it's called a breaking the law. That's why it's called child abuse. But apparently, these people don't think the same way we do. And it's up to us to save our children from this kind of sickness.
I'm just floored. I'm floored that
I mean, see, look at this sickness. This is disgusting. Look. These are the faces of some of the dolls, the eyes. It shows you that they're made of silicone. Okay. You could tell they're cheaper than some of those really rich dolls that you can buy that have eyelashes and everything. It's disgusting.
Okay. And I see right there. Stop moving it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It says, I am helping people express their desires legally and ethically. It's not worth living if you have to live with repressed desire.
Yeah.
Well,
isn't that disgusting?
Yeah, no words.
I know.
Yeah.
Do you want me to I'll save this link for you so that you can talk to other people about it.
Absolutely.
It's repulsive. This is sick. This is just sick. This is feeding a desire to hurt kids. Okay.
So
this is nothing normal about this at all.
No, because going back to what I've said before, when you have a desire like that and you're feeding it with anything, the desire just gets greater. That doesn't change that. Wow.
I know. I told you some of the stuff that people send me and people I talk to about, because since I started the shit show, because it's shit. This is bullshit. Okay. This is shit hitting the fan, like all over the world, basically, that this kind of thing is being normalized, that it's normal. Oh, just go buy a doll. That's how you deal with it. Oh, it's just like, let's brush it under the rug or put it in the closet over there so I don't have to look at it. And then it's not a problem. But see, that's what's sickening about it. It's already in the closet. That's why so many kids have been grown up being abused, because nobody wants to talk about it. What happens when the priest assaulted all the kids? Well, they just take the priest and put them in another church and let them have other kids to abuse, instead of getting rid of the priest and putting him in prison.
And I mean, just like let's just take, for instance, you get pulled over in a car and you have drug paraphernalia on you. You either go to jail or you get a ticket for drug paraphernalia, right? Because the drugs are illegal. Why in the world would you not go to jail for some type of pedophilia? Pedophilia, paraphernalia. I don't get it. I just, where does, I don't get where anyone
But
thinks
see,
this is
that's what
okay.
I don't understand is that we have laws on the books right now, okay, that it's
Yes.
you can't go if I'm under a certain age, I can't buy cigarettes, right? I can't go into a store and legally buy cigarettes, and the store it will be held liable too for selling me cigarettes if I'm underage, right? But
Yes.
that kid that can't even buy cigarettes can go to a doctor and have their breasts cut off or their testicles cut off without their parents' permission.
Yes.
And this
Great
is the
example.
same government. Okay. This is what's wrong with us right now is we have so many signals coming from our government. This is okay. This is not. This is okay. This is right. This is wrong. This is right. We're all running around like chickens with our heads cut off, and nobody knows who to go to or who to tell when they have this kind of shit happening because there's which ends
It's
up,
normalized.
Yeah, they're making
So-
it so hard for any parent to do anything for their kid. And then in some states, if you tell them, no, I'm not letting you go and get your testicles cut off or your boobs cut off, you're not old enough to even know what you want to be yet. You don't even know if you're really gay. It just might, it might be somebody, you don't even know who's talked to your kid to put them in the state of mind that they're in, right? So now you need a therapist because they might start cutting themselves. They might try to commit suicide because they're all dorked up because some jerk off has been trying to get them to change their gender when it's impossible to do that. You need a psychotherapist. Years ago, you had to go to a therapist, a real psychologist, and then be diagnosed with the dysphoria that you feel that you're in the wrong body. That person had to live as that opposite sex for like a year or two before they even got medicine to start making their, like if it was a man, they would get estrogen to make it so their beard wouldn't grow like it did. And they'd have to live that way though. And that was an adult. Now you have kids that are 12, 13 years old going to the doctor and having everything taken off because their counselor at school said, oh, I feel like, they're in the wrong body. They need help. They're not psychotherapists. They're not supposed to be doing this kind of shit. But you have states like California that'll arrest the parent and take your kid from you if you try to keep your kid from mutilating their body. It's just, we're in a nut jar or something. I don't know what
we are.
crazy.
We really are. Because
really
you
is.
gave
It's
a good
scary.
example.
Mhm.
If I take Texas, for instance, you have to be 21 years old in Texas to buy cigarettes or alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be 18 to sign a contract anywhere in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
But you can consent to sex at 17.
Mm-hmm.
But they can't go buy cigarettes or alcohol. But they're making already life-changing decisions legally at 17 years old. Then you have now Austin being the sanctuary city for minors to mutilate themselves. So nothing adds up. It's definitely Common Core across the land.
Mm-hmm.
2 plus 2 definitely equals 5 in this mentality. 1000%.
But then you have groups like MAMBLA, Men Love Boy Association, that think that kids should have the right to choose whether they want to have sex with an adult. And it's like a kid is a kid. They should be believing in the Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny and shit like that, not worrying about whether somebody wants to have sex with them.
If someone is not old enough to buy, if you're not old enough to buy alcohol or cigarettes, you're definitely you're not mentality old enough to have a child.
Yeah.
You take care of a child. And I mean, there's so many messed up things, right? We could go on forever on that one. I mean, but it boils down to it's our responsibility in society to take care of the children. No matter if you're a parent or not.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to be a parent. It's still your responsibility. They're our future. We have no future without them.
I mean, you driving down the road and you have 3 kids in the back seat. One's in a car seat, right? And you got 3 and they all weigh under 40 pounds. Okay. And a cop pulls you over because you were, you say you turned when you didn't have your blinker on or something, something really minor. And then they look in the back seat and your kids are all climbing around and having none of them's wearing seatbelts. That's a huge fine that you're going to get. But you could take those same kids in the back seat and go take them and say, okay, I want to start giving them these pills because I want them to change their gender. Okay.
Yeah.
That's
Talk
not
about a
logical
shit
in
show.
any form. I mean, that's child abuse. That's
Yeah.
abusing a child that doesn't realize that if I take these pills, I may never have children. I may never ever be able to give birth to a child because none of my stuff's going to grow properly without estrogen because you're giving me testosterone.
So
Okay.
there has been a very good person
Terrible.
to follow that
Mhm.
has went through what you're talking about.
I
Gays
have some
against
friends I know that have
groomers.
Mm-hmm.
Matt Ray. His handle on Twitter was it's Matt Ray, and now he's going back to Amy, and Amy is starting to share the horrific journey she has went through to Matt and back to Amy now. She's almost lost her life. It's made her extremely sick. And they don't tell the kids that. They don't tell them what that medication does to their bodies. They don't tell them that their body is going to be dependent on that medication for the rest of their lives if they survive. If they survive. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's horrible.
I've seen there's documentaries that you can watch the surgeries that these people go through to change when the person actually takes the not just having the breast removed, okay? Because a woman having her breast removed is bad, right? It's already bad.
Yes.
But the fact that she still has her ovaries and her uterus, even though she's taking testosterone, she might damage that to where she can never carry children or her eggs won't develop properly and stuff. And she'll probably have deformed children or whatever. She still has a chance to still be a woman, okay? Because she can get breast implants or whatever later. But a young boy that has his testicles cut off can never, ever make a child. Okay.
That should never be happening.
From him. That's taken from that young boy because one day, yeah, he might be gay, but he can still have a son or a daughter one day if he decides to because he still has his testicles, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with being gay or a lesbian. I'm not. I have friends that are gay. Ultra Gay Dad's one of my best friends. We talk all the time. He's been on my show. He's a doll, and he's one of the Gays Against Groomers. I've done shows about that earlier when I first started my channel. The sad thing is that they are against mutilating children. I mean, if I took a kid, and whether I was just a nut, okay, and I took a kid and I started cutting the kid up, that's child abuse. That's torture. I mean, I'm not a doctor, but these people that are making these kids take these pills and telling them that, oh, that you're a kitty cat, let's put a litter box in the classroom so you can go poop in the litter box because you're a cat. It's
the same line.
It's
the
not
same line of these dolls. The dolls and this, what we're talking about now, same thing.
Yeah.
It's all the agenda coming after our children.
Because I think it has a lot to do with the making the population smaller.
Yes, so I agree with you. Yes.
Can't kill everyone. They didn't want to jump off a bridge or whatever else, or do stuff to their body to cause them to die, right? So how can we get rid of these people? Well, you make all the kids think that they're the opposite sex and they mutilate themselves. And guess what? Now we have a whole generation or two generations. We don't know the different ages that they're doing this, that hardly any children are going to be born. I mean, this isn't just in the United States. This is worldwide. Well, not in Africa so much because Africa's like pushing all this out. So there are a few countries that are saying, no, hell no, you're not doing that here.
And I'll give you a little bit of what's happening when it comes to that as well, when it comes to the trans children. The largest purveyor of child sex trafficking with trans children are the heterosexual swinging couple.
Yep.
And people don't believe that. I'm actually been in a discussion with a guy today that is calling me every name in the sun. I'm trying to say, hey, are you open to a conversation? I think you need to know a few things. No, they're not. Because he proudly says he's a swinger and he proudly says he's an ally. And I am all for being kind and being considerate and being understanding of people. But
Mhm.
when you don't know what you're talking about and you go and you slander people and you don't even know, again, you don't know what you're talking about, it's sad because I
Mhm.
do know what I'm talking about when it comes to that. Uh, it's 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 a hard fact to swallow. It's a hard fact to swallow, people, that, all of us watching this right now and reading the article that she just shared, we are the problem.
Mhm.
Human beings and their sexual desires not staying where they should is the problem.
Mhm.
Us, as humans, whoever watches Pornhub, you're part of the problem.
Mhm.
How do you know those children or those people are not children? Excuse my, I misspoke. How do you know that person is willing? And how do you know that as an adult? You don't, and you never will. Just
Mhm.
like the doll. How do you know giving them the right for us to pay for them to have a doll? You
Mhm.
don't know who their next victim's going to be,
Mhm.
but I can promise you there will be another victim because you're feeding the addiction. It's just like a drug habit. If you
Yep.
want someone to quit the drugs, they have to decide they want to quit and they have to go through it themselves to quit.
That's right.
You,
Has to be their decision.
yes, and then it's a lifelong decision every
Mhm.
day.
Yeah, I
But if
know
you,
quite a few
right?
people that quit drinking cold turkey and they haven't
Yes.
drank in 10, 12 years. Okay, a
Yes.
drop. But guess what? They have to change your whole lifestyle. You have to stop hanging with the people that used to hang, that always
Yes.
drank. Just like quitting smoking. When
They,
I smoked a little bit when I was in high school, but then I got to where I just didn't hang around people that smoked, because guess what? I go into a tobacco shop where they're selling those beautiful cigars and all that stuff, and I just love the smell in there. I think it smells wonderful. I like to have the little bag with the tobacco and stuff under my seats in my car because it absorbs odors, but it smells good. The thing is that finally, it took a little bit, but now I don't think about smoking when I smell it anymore. But for a long time, the only thing I didn't like about smoking was the smell of the ashtray. That was it. Everything else I liked. I thought it smelled
mm-hmm.
good. Pipes, cigars, all that. I thought it smelled really good.
And you
But
take yourself away from what feeds the addiction if you don't want it anymore.
that's right. That's the only way you're going to be able to
Yes.
stay away from it, is to stay away from wherever that stuff is at. You just can't be there. And if you don't want to be a person that's out there swinging, then you don't go to swingers clubs. You don't go to bars where people are, going to be swapping their women and men, or go on just cruises. You can get on a cruise. It's
Yes.
all swingers, and they have islands now that you can go to that are, what I don't know what it's called, where you run around and everybody's naked, and so there's some kind of
And
fetish people
and
do.
going back to the doll, if someone is
Mhm.
truly uh, looking to change their life and has done something to a child, the last thing they're
Mhm.
going to do, if they truly wanted to change it, just like that addict, is not have something like that.
Mhm. Yeah,
That
that's
is
right.
only going to feed the addiction and the sick behavior.
And I have seen documentaries where they've had actual people that they have never abused a child, but they have had wanted to. That people who have gone through tons of therapy and stuff like that to not want to hurt a child, because they knew growing up that something was wrong. Okay, that they wanted to do things that they knew that was wrong, and they begged for help, but they were lucky enough, they had parents that cared about them enough and listened to them to try to get them help. And now they're older, they've gotten married and things like that, but they still have in the back of their mind thoughts that they know is wrong, but they reached out and tried to get help for it. Okay, and if there is help, good help, people that actually give a crap, a real therapist that really wants to help them, then you can get help. Just like some of these people in the groups that you were talking about, the Gays Against Groomers, there's people in there that live as the opposite gender, and they think this is messed up because these people had to go through the actual steps because of their dysphoria, because that's what it is. It's gender dysphoria. It's a mental illness, and they're getting treatment for it. But they know that what's going on is wrong, that mutilating children is not ever going to work. I think it was one of the shows I watched. They said, your brain isn't even fully developed till you're like 21, 22, years
25.
old. Yeah,
Now
somewhere
they're
in the
saying
upper
25.
20s. Yeah. So
Yeah.
the thing is, no one should be able to get pills and have their bodies chopped up until they're in their 20s and can go to get the right treatment that they need for whatever their different dysphoria might be. But
And
I've
be
watched
able-
some of these surgeries, and it's not a pretty sight to watch someone go through some of the things that they have to go through to do the full changeover. And it costs a lot of money too.
It
So.
just doesn't make sense. If
Mhm.
if you are taking the parent's right away, who's signing the documents allowing that? Because the child can't even sign a document to buy a car until they're
Yeah.
18.
They don't even have jobs. They don't
Yeah.
even know they don't know the history or anything. They haven't even finished high school yet. You see, they're not even prepared to even be able to cook and clean and get a job, take care of their own place, raise a pet, and they're supposed to be able to cut up their bodies. I don't know. It's just ridiculous. All of this stuff doesn't make any sense. And the only thing I can think of is it's an agenda to help the pharmaceutical companies make money, because once they get a person to take the pills, they're stuck on them for the rest of their life. Until they die, that's money every single week that these pharmaceutical companies are going to make. And that doesn't count all the surgeries they have to have, get their whatever, the Adam's apple taken off, get their lips done, get their ribs removed so they have a waist because it's a guy, or have the woman get fake implants to make her look she's muscular, whatever. I don't know every detail because I'm not a doctor, but that's a lot of money. And that's people using their insurance company to pay for all this stuff if they have insurance.
Right.
And then you have states like California where a person gets arrested and they go to jail, and then they can have surgery and become the opposite gender, and it's paid for by the taxpayers if you're in prison because you want to be a woman or you want to become a man. So I don't know. It's pathetic. Oh, we lost Brandi again. Here she comes. Get her back up again. She must be really having some bad storms.
Boy, we are. They are coming.
You're not having any you're not under a tornado warning or anything, are you?
No, we're not. No.
Okay, because I was under a tornado watch almost all day yesterday.
I can't believe y'all don't hear the thunder. It's crazy.
Yeah, I can hear wind and a little bit of thunder in the background.
Okay.
But yeah, it's I know it's headed toward me because you're in Texas, so
and I'm inside.
Yeah, it's really loud then. But yeah, let me bring up this other thing that it's called Operation Predator. I shared it with you earlier. Well, I didn't know if you got to read it or not, but this is something that reminded me of some of the things that you do, with the people that you work with, basically. This whole thing it's done by the Immigration and Customs Enforcement, supposedly by the government, but it's a whole thing. It's targeted towards catching these people for sex crimes and exploitation of children. Okay. But I'm going to share this website for anyone who's interested in reading about all these different things, like Operation Predator's results, things that they've been able to do, traveling child sexual offenders, internet child pornography. It's got all the different stuff that we've kind of touched base on a little bit. But this is a website if you're interested in finding out more stuff, especially if you want to help in your community, or donate your time to help learn about this, so that maybe you can help train at a school or whatever else. Because I think there's some different things in here where you can take classes and things like that from this website too, to be able to help children. Like one of the people that I saw in one of the videos, and he was showing where you take your young child, and you put them in the trunk of your car, and you show them how to pull the latch to open the trunk. and not to panic and how to do that and stuff like that. And that will definitely make a difference in your child. If your child's ever grabbed at the mall or whatever, and they shove the kid in the trunk so that no one sees him in the car, that the child will be able to release the trunk at least so that the trunk's open, they can be waving and hollering for help. So there's little things like that that some of these websites will teach, which I think is very important because a lot of parents don't think about this stuff. You're busy trying to work and take care of your home and things like that. So there's just so many resources out there, but they're untapped. Okay, because the real bad people don't want you to do any of this stuff. They just want you to sit around and like not worry about it and act like, oh well, you know, it's nothing I can do about it. But you can, just like Brandi was saying, if you think that something's going on, just notify the police. Call them and say, hey, I think this child's been trafficked, or I think this child's being abused, or whatever. I've called 5 or 6 times in the last years. I just called the sheriff's department and say, I think this child, I saw bruises on them, and just, you know, just little things, and you give them all the information you have, and it's out of your hands, but at least you took a step to try to help a kid, right? And even if it ends up being nothing, at least you made the chance, you took a step to try to do something, because
Correct.
the one time that you do take the step and you save that kid, that you made a difference. Okay. So if only one time out of all the times that you think something's bad and you save one kid, isn't that worth it? It is to me. I think it's worth it.
We always say, you know, we would rather you be wrong than go home and that actually been a situation where a child did need to be rescued. There's been, you know, a lot of people that I've talked to, and I've done it myself before, knowing what I know now, right? Where I can look back at a situation years ago and think, wow, something may have been going on there and I didn't say anything. So definitely, you know, call your law enforcement. Make your, if it doesn't require an immediate response, Janet, we always tell them, and I can't get to it. It will not, I can't post a picture, and I don't want to keep losing connection.
Yeah,
but
fine.
I do have information on if there's not an immediate response needed, then anyone in the United States can call their nearest fusion center. Fusion, just like you fuse 2 bones together. And we have over 80 fusion centers in the United States, and we have 8 of them in Texas. So they can call the nearest fusion center or go online and find them and make a suspicious activity report. And again, that suspicious activity report, it's also called SAR, S-A-R. And what that will do is you can give, for instance, I'll give an example of if I would have known back then. Right after 9/11, I noticed a car with no license plate sitting in front of a courthouse one day. And I actually got out and went in and told them inside the courthouse. But had I had that information, I could have picked up the phone, but I could have also went ahead and taken a picture of the vehicle, send it in for a suspicious activities report. Just like if you see maybe something looks weird, you got an ID on a license plate, or you have a picture of a person, nothing to call cops on right then, but man, I don't feel comfortable about this. Something's up. You can always submit that information. And then when something comes up with that person or that vehicle then when investigators or law enforcement start digging into those suspicious activities report, your information can help show a pattern that may end up someone may need to be arrested. Because of so many reports.
I want to put this up here. It says, don't report every bruised child to the cops. I always had bruises as a kid because I was a boy. Well, I was a tomboy. I rode horses. I played out in the fields with my grandpa's cows and chickens and climbed all over hay in the barn. I almost got snake bit a couple times, fell. You know, I was always getting hurt. So I understand what you're talking about, but this was different. The situation, they weren't really bruises. I was donating time. I did it 3 days a week, and I would go and I'd help at the school, the elementary school, and be one of the people that just walked around in the playground to make sure kids weren't fighting or pushing each other off the slide and the swings. 3rd and 4th grade. Okay. And there was a girl sitting on the swings by herself. She wasn't swinging or anything. I walked over and I said, would you like me to push you? And she said, no. And I said, are you okay? And she said, yeah. And her jacket blew open and her neck was covered with hickeys. And this was a little girl in the 3rd or 4th grade.
Wow.
And I just said, well, I'll push you. I'll push you really slow at first. And I was just real nice. And she started swinging and she's like, this is fun. She loved it. But after we were done, I went and I told the principal, the girl, what she was wearing and what I saw. And I said, somebody needs to do something. She's being abused, is what I was thinking. There's no way she's dating. Okay. So that's what I'm talking about. You know, and I didn't alarm the child at all. I didn't say anything to the child about it. You know, I stayed out of that because she would probably not tell me.
And a bruise when they fall down is one thing, right? But when you see a pattern, you know if it looks like someone's been grabbed. You know if it's and let's be honest, a bruise is the least of the injuries you see on a purely abused child.
Yeah.
You
but
know,
she didn't look like she had broken bloody eyes or nothing like that. Because in most parents, if you were abusing your child and your child had the black eyes, the raccoon eyes, and the bloodshot eyes and stuff, they wouldn't send it to school. They would call and say, "Oh, this, she's sick or whatever," until she healed up enough. I learned that stuff from watching that documentary I was telling you about, The Eyes of the Devil.
Yes,
about these women that run these brothels for 10 and under. And when they keep the kids drugged up and stuff so they can, supply 4 or 5 people a day, each child and stuff like that. It's disgusting. And these kids are begging for them to be killed. They want to die. And they're like 7. Oh, it's disgusting. That's the worst one I've ever seen. It just rips your heart out, and you don't see anything. Okay, it's all blurred out. Everything's blurred out, and it's a young mother who's wanting to sell her baby to this group of people that sell infants for $500,000 for a pedophile to fly in and play with it for whatever long it lasts until it dies or whatever. It's disgusting. And this is happening in our world. And people don't want it. People don't want to know about it. People don't want to know the truth because it hurts to believe it.
I'll back up what you just said. I'll back up what you just said. There are people out there. There have been Texas cases. Babies, they see no boundaries. These people see no boundaries. A child is a commodity to them. And going back to that doll, I just cannot get over the idea of the doll because you're just feeding the monster.
But even the FBI teaches in the criminal unit, when they're people like you watch these shows where they're hunting down people like Jeffrey Dahmer and the Green River Killer and stuff, and they always say the same thing about when they're children. They kill animals. They play with roadkill. They'll dissect dead animals and do all these weird things and hurt animals, hurt puppies and kittens, and torture birds and do all these terrible things. They know that this is fact, that these kids that grow up and do that more than likely they're going to probably end up being a serial killer when they grow up, right? They've said it over and over again. And you talk to, like, when one of them went to see Ted Bundy when he was on death row in Florida and asked him, we've been finding bodies in Washington State. And this was the Green River Killer when he was killing all these women. And he asked him, what should we do? How can we catch this guy? Some of this is what made the movie with about what was it, Buffalo Bill or whatever they called the guy that was killing all the women, and they had that.
Yes.
I can't remember the name of the movie right now. With Anthony Hopkins, he played the psycho with wear the mask because he was eating people and stuff. He was a cannibal-like guy. I can't remember the name of the movie, but it was based on that. Either. But the thing is, this really happened. They interviewed Ted Bundy, and then Ted Bundy said, well, if you really want to catch this guy, you find a fresh kill, you just stake it out. You don't bring her in or anything. You leave her there because he'll come back. because Ted Bundy did it. If you watch some of the documentaries, Ted Bundy would kill these women, take them out in the woods, and then for days after days, he'd go out and he'd brush their hair, put lipstick on them, have sex with them, do all these things with these dead bodies, necrophilia stuff. It's sick. And he was telling them that if you did that, and they said they couldn't do that. They told their bosses, and their boss said, no, if we find someone, we have to take them right then. We can't leave them out there and wait for the guy to come back. What it was disgusting thinking about it. But one of the guys was saying that, I know this is kind of sick, but he said that they had found a couple bodies that were in the water and they were covered with rocks, but they had put rocks up inside the women's bodies, if you know what I'm saying, right? And when they captured him, when they finally got him, they asked him, was it that a ritual, like a Satan ritual or whatever that you were doing? And he went, no. He said, I just did it so no one else would want to have sex with him. Because see, in his mind, having sex with a dead woman is normal.
Your chat, they got it right. It's Silence of the Lambs.
It is Silence of the Lambs. That's what it was. But the thing is that these people are not normal. So a person that will do this stuff with children or to animals is not a normal person. It's never going to be normal. I don't care how many drugs you put in them. I don't care what you do to them, what therapies or something. This person is never, ever going to think like a normal person, ever. And children will always be in danger around this person, any person like that, male or female. It's very, very rare to get women that do that type of stuff, but they're out there. So, but when I hear about all these people, I had this one friend that was sending me all these alerts that children are missing, like in Houston. This is a friend of mine from Houston. And it was like every week, like 6 or 7 kids. And I'm like, holy shit, that's just sickening that there's that many kids missing. And then I'm like, where's their parents? How do these kids all just disappear when aren't their parents watching them? I never let my kids out of my yard. I was one of those parents. So,
well, I'm going to be honest with you, and we could go another 2 hours on this topic. Yeah. When it comes to the children that go missing, 9 times out of 10, if they are of age enough to be suspected that they ran away, a lot of your law enforcement offices are telling you to come back in 24 hours if they don't show back up. And that's exactly what you don't want to do. You don't want to wait 24 hours. Those first 48 hours are the most crucial. We had a girl that was taken from the Dallas Mavericks game last year who was sold to 3 different trafficking rings within 72 hours. You cannot wait if a child goes missing. And it's, what do? You call law enforcement, and then you call a private investigation team who specializes in missing children. And they are out there. We do not, but they are out there. And that's who you want. Because waiting, imagine now waiting 24 hours and knowing that there's these dolls out there now. Let's just add all that put together. I have no words. I don't
either. I was surprised. I was so sickened. I was sickened by it.
Going back to a little bit of what you said a moment ago about the killings and the desensitization is what it is.
Yep.
When it comes to children and the sex trafficking, in Texas, a lot of our sex trafficking rings are cartel. Of course, we're in Texas. Yep. They run a lot of the United States. Most people don't want to hear that, but it's very true. And a lot of them who are higher ups and they want to bring their children up in this, right? In their way of life, if you will. They will kill family animals. They will kill animals in front of their children and make them go through that as to desensitize to the killing. So that when they are older, that abusing people in general won't be hard, won't be a hard thing for them. And I just,
I
I'm
know.
floored.
I know. But the thing is that when my sister told me about this, when she told me about that woman in Kentucky in Congress trying to say, okay, we need to do this in our state so that if we provide these dolls and we'll get them from this person in Japan, blah, 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 for these pedophiles that have been arrested, because they've got a lot of them, then we can keep them from hurting more kids. And I was like, you gotta be kidding. It was disgusting to think this. And these are the people that are elected. These are elected people that the people voted to put in there. And this was their, see, I don't know, but see, it just seems illogical that they don't ask anyone. They don't have the position to go and say, hey, I want you to bring me like 10 of the best therapists in our state. And I want to ask them some questions about child therapy. I want to see what is the best thing to get for our state to help these people not be able to abuse kids. What do we need to set up? That's the kind of stuff that you think that your people and you're paying taxes to are going to be doing. Like the police are thinking, okay, what's the best way to capture this criminal? They're gonna do phones, look at different clues, use satellites or whatever it is, whatever technology they can get their hands on, they're going to use it to try to solve a case. You'd think. So why wouldn't they want to do the same thing with pedophiles? What's the best way to treat a pedophile so that they don't re-abuse more children? That's why they make them register. And that's another thing. I wanted to share this real quick. Right here. The registry of where you can go. I'm going to put this I'm going to put this in the chat so that if you in your state, you can go to this website and you can put your state in there and you can find out how many registered sex offenders are near you or anything like that. So you can try to understand your surroundings about where your children are. Right. Just letting them walk to the mall or what. I mean, I don't know how old anybody's kids are. But the thing is, you need to know what's around you.
And let me give them a little bit of information they can use this map for as well, or this information. So, for an example, you pull up an address. I would suggest, let's say, pull up the school address where your child goes to school. See where the pedophiles are around that school. See how many of them are actually breaking the law, depending on that state, because every state's different. And you will be probably not shocked for your viewers, most of them, if they know you.
Yeah.
But, or if they're on Twitter. But if you're not on Twitter, guys, you'll probably be really shocked to find out they're pretty much right across the street from where they shouldn't be. So I was grateful to be able to be a part of the America's Future program when they came to Fort Worth, Texas. They do an amazing sex trafficking program training for everyone, and they're going all over the United States. So definitely that's something for everybody to look for. I can't get to the chat easily. I'm scared at this point because of the weather to mess my thing up.
All you got to do, Brandi, is to send me this stuff in DM later.
Okay.
And I will make sure I'll share it on my YouTube channel and some of my other channels. I'll share all the links so that, because I'm always doing this anyways in my Discord.
Okay. Well, americasfuture.net is where they need to go, and they need to get a ticket, and they're going to all 50 states. And one of the things they did was they will pull up Brian Gamble, one of the panelists. He does the AI presentation. It's very, very top notch when it comes to technology. And he does the AI presentation, and he showed us, he pulled up the address of the church we were sitting in, and there was a sex offender literally 90 seconds across the street from us. And in Texas, I want to say it's 1,000 feet. They're not supposed to be. It's either 500 or 1,000 feet. You're not supposed to be if you're a sex offender within a school or a church. And they were. And he was able to access this public data that this sex offender was right across the street that should have not been able to live there. And that was his home. So find out how people are holding people accountable in your area. That
Yeah.
matters.
I wanted to read this though. This is what shocked me, especially when you said yes. It says Texas has the largest list of registered sex offenders in 2023, with over 100,000 individuals. California follows with about 62,000. Now, these are just the ones that we know that were convicted and put on this list, right?
Okay.
Arkansas has the highest rate of child sex abuse with 253 victims per 100,000 children. I was just floored by these numbers. And these are two states. I live in Arkansas now, and you live in Texas. That they were at the top of the sheet. I was just shocked.
So, of course, it should not shock you as well that California is number 1 and Texas number 2 for sex trafficking of children.
Yeah, I can believe you. I believe you.
Yep.
But I know you. I know you personally, and
Right.
and I know that you know what you're talking about. And that's why I was so happy that you would come on the show with me, because
I was excited. Everybody
I'm so glad
needs to
you
hear
finally
this
got
stuff.
to do it. And I'm sorry I messed up at the beginning, but I'm new at this too. I'm doing the best I can. But the thing is that every time we get one person that doesn't know about this, that finds out, and they're out on the lookout now, to me, it's worth it.
It's all worth it.
It's
If
always
we can
worth it.
save one child from going through the things that we know, yes, it's all worth it. Or one
Well, I'm
parent.
going to share this. I'm going to share the link to this in the chat. So anybody that's interested in knowing this, these are the numbers of the sexual assault rates, child mistreatment rates. I mean, all this different information. It's good information for anyone that's interested in finding out more factual stuff, because I like sharing websites that seem to have the best information. And that's why, if anybody in the chat, I've been sharing your Twitter, so you might have some new followers tomorrow. But the thing is, I want somebody, if they see something and they want to know more, that they can send you a message and you can answer it for them.
Yes.
Because I know that you will.
Yes. And my DMs are open to public because the way we have to work, my following will probably get a little smaller, and I probably won't be following you back unless we make a personal connection, and that's quite all right. My DMs are open. But there's something I wanted to share.
Okay.
2 weeks ago, I believe it was, maybe 3 weeks. So for those who don't know, I hold a Trafficking Tuesday space every night on Twitter. I'm sorry, not every night, every Tuesday night on Twitter from 7 to 9 Central. And not long ago, within the last month, I was talking about on the space, there was an article I had pulled up, and I want to say it was Colorado. Again, we see a lot of things every day, so I hear a lot of stories and read a lot. But this story was, this is actually not a story, this is a bill that is being passed, and I want to say it was Colorado. But this is an example of the types of things that parents and everyone needs to watch out for. You mentioned sex offenders. Well, this bill allows transgender who have felonies to change their name. Okay? So follow me here. If a sex offender is transgender and they commit a felony, they're allowed in this state now, and it did pass, to change their name. Well, when their name changes, what happens to their criminal background?
Disappears, because they're no longer that person, supposedly.
Yes, ma'am.
But their fingerprints are the same.
Yes. But the criminal record's gone.
Yeah.
So then you don't know. You aren't able. Teams like our team are not able to do a true the PI team is not able to do a true comprehensive background on that person. So when you decide that you need a PI and you want to call and hire yourself a PI, if you want to look at anyone who is transgender and may have had a felony, you might not find it.
Mm-hmm. That's why they
These are
travel to certain states to have the surgeries.
This is
They
why we
move
have
it.
to pay attention.
Mm-hmm. Yep, you're right.
These laws are taking away everyone's rights, and they're coming after our children.
Yep. That's why you've got to talk to your kids. You got to talk to your kids that if they feel uncomfortable, they have an uneasy feeling, it's a natural thing that you get these feelings. Like I know I've had them before. I didn't think about it until I was an adult about what they were. But I remember many times my mom always said that it made the hair on her neck stand up or whatever. But you'll be somewhere and all of a sudden you just get this feeling that someone's staring at you or something, and you'll turn to look and they turn away or whatever. I don't know what it is. It's like a intuition or something that we have. It's a natural thing, I think, of protection.
Yes.
That our natural selves can sense danger. Okay. But over time, just like you said, you get desensitized because of your run with the same word, like democracy that we don't live in, but they'll say that that's what we live. We live in a democracy. So people say we live in a democracy. Well, we don't. We live in a constitutional republic. Two totally different things. But I every time Tucker Carlson puts that out in a tweet, I say we live in a constitutional republic, because he'll say we live in a democracy. So it just really ticks me off because they use that. It's just like all these countries like Germany, when they're under Nazi Germany, it's propaganda, and they say the same thing, and they use the media to do it. The media would bombard you with misinformation, and after everything's done and it settles down, everybody still believes that that's true. That everything that was said was because it was hammered onto them over and over and over again. So, we have to, like I shared it the other night. I shared this thing. It's called the ASH experiment. And I shared a link and everything about it. And what it is, it's where they took a test subject, one, and they put them in a room at a table. And then they had a person in a lab coat with a board up in front of the room. And then they had 5 other people in the room with them. And he thought they were all there for the same thing. But everyone in there was paid to be there except for the one person they were studying. And then they have a bunch of lines drawn on a piece of paper, a big giant piece of paper. And he was supposed to pick out which line was the same size as the first line that you saw on the paper. And the third number or the second number or the second line was the right answer. But he said the right answer, but everyone else in the room said another number that was different than what you could see. Obviously, if you looked at it, they were wrong. But he looked around, but he still said 2. He said the second one. But then the next time they flipped it over and everybody said the wrong one, he kind of looked around and then he went, and he said the wrong number. But you could tell he was apprehensive, that he didn't feel comfortable saying what wasn't true. But at the end of the experiment, he conformed to say the same thing everyone else did. Even though he knew it was wrong, he still did it because he didn't want to stand out. He didn't want to be the odd man out. And it's an actual study. And that's what I see happening right now. It's a big, huge ASH experiment. Because everybody's going, like I said, don't just read the headline, read the article too, because the headline is to grab you and pull you in or make you click or say, yeah, I like it or whatever and share it. But nobody's reading anything. So if you're sharing stuff and you didn't read it just because of the headline, I think I might even try that, put some fancy headlines up and then put a bunch of gobbledygook crap in the article, and then they'll be sharing it and everybody's like, why'd you share that shit with me? What shit? What was it? It was really good. Well, did you read it?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be a good experiment to see? Because I guarantee you if you get shared by a bunch of people because they didn't even bother to read it, because all they did was see the headline and that's it. They just react to it. I think we talked about that on one of the shit shows a couple weeks ago.
And that's a good example of how people just want to not cause a problem and go with the flow.
That's what the ASH experiment is.
That is exactly why we're in the boat we're in today.
Mm-hmm.
That is why we're here. When
So
it comes
all of
down
you
to the
kids out there, like Brandi and I, that were the black sheep of the family, we're different because we weren't the one
Yep.
that followed the rest of the kids. You know, we were like, what? You guys are stupid. I ain't doing that shit. So, because we thought for ourselves. And that's what my mother tried to teach all of us, was to think for yourselves. Don't let other people talk you into doing dumb shit. Think about it and be the one person that steps back. And guess what? You might save somebody because you stepped out, and they look at you and say, well, if she could do it, I'm going to do it too.
We
And every
live
so
in a
often that worked. But
we
not
live
for,
in a really messed up world where someone is getting hurt and people pull out their cameras on their cell phone instead of going to help.
help someone. Yeah. They just take pictures.
Yeah,
Sad. Really sad. But
it is.
that's where we're
It
at.
is.
But
Um,
I know you're probably getting tired and you're about ready to hit the sack because you probably got to get up early in the morning. So, and I told you I would try to stay at an hour, but we went over an hour already, 20 minutes
no
over.
worries. This has been so much fun. I mean,
Oh,
I
I'm
could
so
really go
thankful
on.
for you. You've really helped me with this. I was really, really happy that when you said yes, I was like, I've been wanting Brandi on the show for a long time.
Me too. So next time
So,
I'll be prepared and
yeah,
we'll
you
do
can,
the full
whenever
blown
you
deal.
decide that you have certain thing you want to talk about, I'd love to have you on again. I really would, because I just think you're awesome. I've been friends with you for a while now, and I think what you do is it's just phenomenal, because not everybody can do it, especially the
thank
guys
you.
that you work for. You know, the people that you don't talk about, those people
Yes.
behind the scenes. I don't know how they do it. I pray for them. Those are the ones I pray for, because that is the hard stuff to deal with, to see it,
Yeah.
every week. I
Well,
couldn't. I'd want to help, but I wouldn't be able to do that job.
Last week we actually had a really good space. If you didn't see it, you might want to go back and replay. But the lead investigator, who rarely comes on social media, was in my space last week. Yeah, and her with Jason Jones, and told us all about what's going on at the border and what he's seeing. And it's a great replay. You'll have to listen to it. Yeah.
Okay, I will definitely go back and listen. Yeah, I've been so busy trying to just juggle things around my house and reschedule a bunch of the things that's been going on, and reworking my whole thing, because Bruce started that new job, and now I'm trying to cram everything with Bruce that we used to do during the week all on the weekend. So it's like,
oh wow,
changed my whole schedule, and I'm trying to work on putting other things in the week. My workout schedule, things around my house and everything, so that my weekends are open, so I can watch the movie, do the movie review, and play the beta game, because he's writing his own game, and we've been playing it to try to help him make the manual and things like that. By
awesome.
what works and what doesn't.
I would definitely love to come back. We could definitely make an hour of talking sex
I really
trafficking.
appreciate it, because if we can just get one person that might be able to help a kid out of the few that we have 127 right now, which is great.
Well, right now we are doing something really special. We are working on a project when it comes to educating school-age children. Planning to hopefully go nationwide with it. So definitely check us out. Our website is shepardswatchfoundation.org. And we specialize in the investigative intelligence side of the sex trafficking cases, but we do awareness as well, and that's where you can find me on Tuesday nights. I definitely want to invite everybody in. I saw Divisive was in here earlier. I don't know if he's here still now.
Yeah, I'm going to copy this real quick, your hoodies and t-shirts and stuff off your page. I'm copying the link, and I'm going to share it in the chat. So
awesome.
If anybody wants to check this out, because this will help sponsor what they're doing to Shepards Watch, and you can get some really cool merch to wear to show that your support for them. But she wasn't going to say anything, but I'll do it for her anyways. So hopefully you'll get a few people to maybe help you out with that. I hope, because
that'd be awesome.
I really appreciate it. You know me, I'm all for anything that we can do to help kids, because even though some of them aren't always good, because some kids fib, they don't want to go to school, they don't want to eat what you tell them to eat, all those things, but they're children. You know, we have to be the grown-ups, and parents need to stop trying to be their kid's best friend and be their parent.
And we can't always be with them, and that's where educating them one-on-one, like we are planning on doing, and rolling out, is that's the key. The kids have to know how to protect themselves and what to look for.
Yeah, because a kid can't fight an adult.
No.
I don't care if you send your kid to judo, whatever. If your child is little, you know, they're not going to be able to defend themselves against a grown up. Now, if your kid is one of those kids that ends up being a linebacker like Refrigerator Perry, but you know, even when they're real small, they're bigger, they might be able to fend off an attacker. Or someone's trying to grab them, put them in their car, or you know, who knows what, you know, picking them out at the mall or whatever. But these younger kids that are small or whatever, they're not going to be able to defend themselves against a full grown adult. And, you know, even other adults can't, you know, defend themselves against another full grown adult. So it's just good that, you know, you try to learn as much as you can, not to be paranoid about it, but to knowing a little more, it can't hurt.
You need to know.
That's right.
We don't know the enemy when we don't know what to look for.
That's right. We don't. And they look just like us.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
They don't look like a monster coming at you like what they did on the Silence of the Lambs.
We get asked all the time, what does cartel look like? They look like you and me. What does a predator look like? They look like you and me. What is a recruiter? Same thing. So, yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I shared a tweet this morning that someone had posted, and I saw it, and I shared it. I said, we need to catch these people. It was an older man. He was sitting in like a little cafe, and he had a young girl, like 14 or 15, sitting with him. And a guy approached him and said, do you know how old that girl is? You know, so they caught this guy, and he admitted, I met her he was saying he met her on a sex site or whatever. But, you know, it's disgusting. It's disgusting that they know what they're doing. Because like that show that was on TV, that To Catch a Predator, someone said something about that. Who was it?
Yeah, I was fixing to mention that.
Yeah, you know, he said that. But I remember watching it on TV and getting arguments with people at work. And I would say that was disgusting to see that guy show up with condoms and candy and alcohol and shit for this kid that he thought was 13, right? And they were like, "Oh, that set him up. That's entrapment." And I was like, "What? How can you say that's entrapment? He's chatting with somebody. They're sharing pictures. He knows she's 13, and he knows her parents are gone, and he's going to her house to have sex with her. How is that entrapment?" So I don't understand how that you know, we argued about that a lot because I thought that was
So legally, there are certain things that can be said, cannot be said. We have someone that we know mutually, actually, that works in this field as well as I do, and his child was approached. And and I'm glad you brought this up at this point, because that is one thing I do need to share. If someone is talking to a child or your child that you know, do not interact with them. Call law enforcement, because you can screw it up. And if you do say the wrong thing and lead the person to give an answer that self-incriminated themselves and something is wrong, that person could walk away with no charges. So it is very important for someone to contact law enforcement immediately if that does happen with your child online. You do not interact with them yourself. There are people who know what to do, and they will take care of it.
Yeah, and plus, if you say the wrong thing, it could scare them off.
1000%.
Yeah, remember what was that? It was that movie, the Sound of Freedom. At the beginning, you see them raiding all these places at the same time.
Yes.
Because they know that if one of them leaks a button or pushes a button and lets all these different people know at one time, they're all going to scatter.
Yeah.
So that's why everything has to be such a precision set up so that they can
operation.
Yeah, to get every one of them at the same time, because as soon as one gets away, that might be the one person that they needed more than any of the others. So, all of it has to be done a certain way. And that's why if you suspect something, the best thing for you to do is call your sheriff's department or the police
Yes.
department. That's the best thing.
And
Even
find
if
out
it ends up being
now.
nothing.
Find out now if they're receptive. Go talk to them. Find out what's going on in your town. If your sheriff tells you that you don't have a sex trafficking problem, send me a message. Let's find out if you do, and then I'll give you some intel that you can take back to them and let them know that you do have a problem.
I had something happen to me once. It was like 17 years ago, and I still cannot stop thinking about it. It really bothered me. I was in Louisiana, and my phone rang, and I answered it, and it was a young girl. It sounded like maybe 12, and she was like, help me. And I'm like, what's your name? And she said, Liz. And I said, where are you? And she said, I don't know. And then I heard her scream, and I heard like in the background, going on and yelling in the background. She's like, help me. And I was like, what can I do? I was freaking out. And then the phone went, hung up. And then I called the police. I did everything trying to figure out how to trace my call and all this shit. And I kept calling the police back. Did you find her? Did you find the girl? And they were like, no, we don't know. We couldn't get the number and all this different shit. And it drives me nuts. It's driven me nuts since, because I don't know what was happening. I don't know if she was having a fight with her parents or if it was just nothing, If it didn't sound like a prank though to me, because I used to do that, like call and say, do you know, is your refrigerator running, and do stupid shit like that as a kid. I did.
We all did. Yes, we did.
Okay. But this did not sound like that. This sounded like
No.
desperation to me. And I have never been able to forget it. I didn't sleep for 2 days.
And one of your viewers said something that is so important too. It's that inner beacon. You also have to teach your children to listen to their intuition.
Mm-hmm.
That little thing that tells them, no, don't do that. Hey, something's wrong. You have to. That will save a child so much.
And here's another thing. I saw this on one of those shows where they talk about. It's called I Survived. You ever seen that TV series?
No.
And they interview people that went through certain traumatic things have happened to them, and they talked to them. And there was a mother and a daughter that were traveling in their car, and the car broke down, and they didn't know for sure what it was. And they were in the car, and a car pulls up. It's a 2-seater like Corvette car, but it was older. And it was a man, like in his maybe 50-year-old man driving it. And they pull in. They've been sitting there for like 5 hours. So nobody had come to help. And it was on an old back road or whatever. And this guy pulls up, and they're like, hey, you guys need some help? And they were like, yeah, we really could use some somebody to come, get our car and tow it off or whatever. And he said, well, I only have room for one person. So if one of you want to go with me, I can take you up to the gas station. I think it's like 2 or 3 miles up the road. And the daughter got in the car with him. And they never saw her. So I was like, as a mother, there was no way I would have let my daughter go, but she didn't want to leave her daughter at the car, So I would have said, no, it's okay. We'll wait for the next car. That's what I would have done.
Right.
Because to me, my gut just said, I picked up one hitchhiker in my life, and this was in New Orleans, and it was pretty dangerous. It was pouring down rain, and I see someone walking. I couldn't tell if it was a man or a woman. They had their jacket up over their head like that, and they were stooped down a little bit, and they were just walking along. And when I pulled up, I said, do you need a ride? And it was a girl. But before she got in the car, I took my purse and everything, and I put it on the other side of me, and I had my hand in my bag ready to pull my weapon out the whole time with my left hand while I was driving. And I was watching her like a hawk as I was going real slow. Isn't that terrible? This is just a young person. I don't know anything about her, but the whole time she's in my car and I'm giving her a ride to the gas station, it was like a mile down the road. I was petrified that she was going to try to kill me or attack me or steal my vehicle. And that's how paranoid I was. But I still did it. I still picked her up and I gave her a ride. And you
can't do that nowadays, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I haven't done it in a long, long time. That's one reason why I left.
Yeah.
The crime is so bad there. It's
When
It's
you
not the same place it was before Katrina. It's just
when
not.
anyone replays, I encourage you, and I will pin it back again to the top of my Twitter profile, but
Mhm.
I encourage you to go listen to not this week's episode, but last week's episode of Trafficking Tuesday when Jason Jones was in there.
Mhm.
Past,
Okay.
present, and future of our borders. When you hear the things he has been telling our government for many years of what they were seeing at the border, he was the director of Texas Department of Public Safety, Counterterrorism, and Intelligence.
Mhm.
And yeah, people need to be aware that things are not the way they used to be. It is not safe to just pick up anyone now. It is
Mm-mm.
not safe to just stop and help someone fix their car. You know, it might be if your town is still a little 150 people, you know, but
Mhm.
let's be real. When it comes to Texas, we've got over 30 million people before the open borders. So I don't know. There's no telling what it is now.
Yeah.
And, you know, we have people coming from, it was over 170 something countries, he said, in that episode I'm talking about where Jason was in. Over 170 something countries have
Mhm.
entered our border, and we
Yeah.
don't know who everyone is. So
Mhm.
everyone just has to be safe.
Yeah.
Excuse me, and
Yeah.
you know,
What I've done
teach
now
your
is
kids.
if I see somebody on the side of the road, I say, "Do we want me to call you some a tow truck?" Stuff like that. Now,
Yes,
but I lock all my doors. I crack the window a little, and I'll say, "I can call someone for you if you'd like." And they said, "Please." So I'll I'll pull up way up ahead, and then I'll call and look at see if I can find out, on my GPS or whatever where we're at, and I'll tell them where I'm at, and then I drive off. I'll leave them there.
yes.
But what was so bad was I had a little Kia Soul before I got the vehicle I have now, right? And I'm driving from Arkansas back to Louisiana. I'm driving along, and I'm like 2 hours from New Orleans, and I trying to pass a semi, and some big giant something came out from underneath the semi, so I move even farther to the median to get out and get away, and it hits the ground and goes under my front tire, and I hear whoosh, the tire explodes. So I try to control the car, and it does real well, and I get over to the other side, and I'm like, fuck, I got a flat because I got to change it. And I have my 2 little dogs in there, and it's 100 degrees outside. We were baking. So I crack the windows, I get out and start to change the tire, and I get it all changed. I'm like all happy. And then I realize the back tire is flat too. So it flattened both my tires. So I ended up calling. Yeah, so I'm standing there, but I was out there for like an hour at least, and not one person pulled over to help me out of all people going down the interstate. Tons of cars. And some guy was on the side road, that's down there by the on the other side, whatever those roads are called. And he gets out of his truck and he starts walking toward me. He's like, "Do you need help?" And I said, "No, I'm okay. I've already called the tow truck driver," and I had called. And, nowadays you call them, they send you a picture, what they look like, and all this different stuff, which is great. I mean, it's really smart. I just waited for the guy to come. And when he picked me up and took me to this other place to get a new tire, and he said, "I just want to tell you, I'm real impressed." He goes, "You don't know how many men I picked up that can't even change the tire." And I had changed it one tire already. I had a donut on the front, and I did. That's when I realized the second one was flat too. And I was like, "Shit," because I didn't have two spares. So it was just funny because he must pick up a lot of people. He said how many men didn't know how to change the tire. So I can tell you, everybody, all of you in the chat, learn how to change your own tire because you might be stuck there a long time if you don't know how to do it.
Especially for women too, right? Or your daughters.
Mm-hmm.
Always make
Dad
sure
made
you're
all of us
teaching
learn
them
how to do it.
how to do something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Because especially if they live out in the middle of nowhere, how long
Mm-hmm.
are they going to sit on the side of the road waiting for someone to show up and help? And you want to hope that it's someone that's not scary.
Yeah.
And it's trustworthy.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
You don't know by looking at people anymore. You can't look at someone and know whether they're safe. That's why I'm always talking against any app like Tinder or any of these things to date people and stuff. You have no idea who you just bring into your house. because you swipe left or right. It's just ridiculous. I would never even, I don't recommend anyone use any of those things.
No.
Dangerous. And don't give your personal information to anyone you don't know. That's what I tell people all the
Oh
time.
no, that could be totally another space too. It's conversation too.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
So.
people don't need to know everything. And your children should know that as well.
Yeah. Joe. Yeah. I used to live in Metairie. You know where Metairie is? And all the parades that would go down Veterans Boulevard. And everyone wanted to come stay at my house, my townhouse, because they wanted to go to the parades and didn't go down to the quarter and stuff later. And I take them down there. But I tell people, if you're going to go and you want to take your kids and stuff and you want to see parades, stay in Metairie. Don't take your kids down to the quarter for Mardi Gras. It's just not an appropriate place. I mean, a lot of genitalia being seen for beads and stuff. So, I just don't recommend it. Go to Veterans Boulevard. You can see great stuff, get great loot. And there's lots of restaurants and stuff. And you don't have to worry about seeing things or having your kids see stuff they don't need to be seeing. That's just my little tidbit of information right there. Because it's a great place. It used to be wonderful before Katrina. But after Katrina, I don't know what happened. It's just nothing but it's a crime just going through the roof. It's scary.
Yeah, it is. It really is. And, that's happening a lot everywhere.
So now I'm in Hillsdale. So it's very different, but I'm getting used to it. But it's not too bad. But I just want to say thank you so much, Brandi, for joining me this evening and hanging out with me. For the team shit show, seeing the two of us, a team, talking about things that, it's shit that we need to know about. But we do have a chance to fix things. We can do it. If enough of us say we're sick of this crap, we're not going to let this kind of stuff happen to our children anymore. And you're not going to be able to get away with doing this and start fighting back and taking back our towns. But the thing is, we have to take back our cities, our towns, and our states. That's the only thing we can do to take back the federal government. You have to take your states back. Fight for them. Like I said earlier in the show, and I was talking about Sarah Huckabee telling the Biden administration, we will not comply to Title IX in the state of Arkansas. There's shit you can do about it. We have our own constitution and we have a governor and we're going to do what she tells us to do. We're not listening to him or them. So
yeah, we definitely have to get involved at our local levels, guys. Don't wait till it's 50 feet in front of you. It's too late at that point. All of these things we're talking about tonight.
Yep.
Got to be proactive.
Proactive. Stop it from happening. It's just the same thing about your health. If you eat right, you drink enough water, and you try to exercise and get plenty of sleep, you're probably going to live longer than that guy over there that drinks every night and smokes a pack of cigarettes a day. Yes. I'm not saying you have to quit, but if you do smoke, try to cut back on it. Try to drink more water. Try to exercise more. Do all these little things that because grandma used to tell you, oh, you shouldn't eat all that candy. It's not good for you. Because they were right. People were right. I wish more people had listened to their parents and their grandparents about lots of things, and maybe we wouldn't be in the trouble we're in now. But when you get lazy,
for sure.
It's easy for them to take it out from underneath you because you're not paying attention. But
it's definitely a shit show, Janet. Good name for your show.
I know. I couldn't help it. I started out, there was a friend of mine named Drew Taylor, and he had a show, and his channel was called The United Resistance. And I loved that channel because that was the first time I ever went live, and I got to start talking about politics. And I was like, I love this. Is great, and I'd read stuff and I'd send him links, and I was just really excited. And then when his channel started, going under because he just stopped putting so much effort into it, I was like, well, I missed that. So as soon as I started getting back into it because of Bruce and doing the show with the movie reviews, And I was like, I really want to try to do something for myself, but I just got to work my way up and figure out what I want to do. So I just came up with the Friday night shit show because I was like, God, it was so easy with this administration because there was tons of shit,
Right.
I always have something to talk about every single week. So if something good happens this November and we start getting some people that give a shit and start locking people up and everything, I'll have to change it from shit because good stuff would be happening. I'll be able to have some good news on there. So we'll see what happens. But
yeah,
I like doing it. It's fun. I enjoy it. And, I'm not monetized or anything. I just do it because I'm passionate about it. It's something I love to do. And, if I help a few people, it's great. And if I give people a few laughs, that's great too. So,
yeah, laughter makes the heart smile. We need it nowadays for sure.
but I just want to say thank you to everyone in the chat for hanging out with us all this time. We had 137 people watching us live. That's great. I really, really appreciate it. And
Awesome.
I want to say thank you to everybody and say thank you to Brandi again. And hopefully you guys can come see me tomorrow. I'll be doing the Friday night shit show with Ruben and Orange Hat. And maybe I'll be able to get another guest that wants to join us. And we'll be talking mostly politics and things like that. But thank you so much. I really, really, really appreciate all of you because without you guys, there is no show, right? So you guys have a wonderful night and I'll see you tomorrow. It's the beginning of the weekend. Good night, Brandi. Thank you.
Good night. Thank you. Bye, guys.
You guys have a wonderful evening.
God.